Hey there, welcome to another edition of Comic Book Geezers. I am Pete.
I'm Wild Bill, the unknown comedian. How are you?
Today is Sunday, July the 9th. We are here, as we promised last week, we're here to do a first of a two-part series on classic number ones.
That's right.
So we're going to do some, a lot of Marvel, some DC, and
we got a lot to
A
cover.
lot to cover.
It's going to take us 2, maybe 3 episodes. We're going to do 2 episodes and let you vote. But I'm going to kick it off with Wolverine. And this book is actually more like a history of Wolverine. It's not really like a comic. It's more like a book. And it like goes over his life and what his adventures are. And this is a 4-part series. And I only have the first issue. And if you like Wolverine, this is a holy grail.
Yep.
I got this when I was a teenager, and if I had known how popular this would have been, I would have bought 10 issues apiece. I have all 4 issues. This is written by Chris Claremont, and the artwork is from Frank Miller. And if you like the X-Men, this is a reprint of X-Men #1. This is Amazing Adventures, Volume 3. But this is the first X-Men, but this obviously is a reprint.
Was that 80?
This is 1980 or 80. I can't read that. I'm on my glasses.
Is 79. Close.
79.
That was close.
This is The Punisher. This is a 4-part series, but because it was The Punisher, it's called what's this? Lifeform. It's a 4-part series, but I bought the first issue. Gotta have The Punisher if you like him. Pete's up next.
All right, so I'm going to go way back on my first couple here. So you guys have actually seen this one from me before, but this is the #1 of Tomb of Dracula. Okay, this was, what year was this? Probably like 72, maybe?
I guess 72.
Gene Colan on artwork, who did a fantastic job on Tomb of Dracula.
And Marv Wolfman was the writer.
Yep, absolutely. And then also something you've seen from me before, but a recent acquisition. This is Ghost Rider #1. Classic book, a great run for that supernatural character.
I love that cover.
And then this was actually one of my favorite characters in growing up in the 70s, and one of my, at the time, absolutely favorite comics. I just really love this character in the series. I still do. This is Howard the Duck #1.
And this is #1 Howard the Duck Annual #1.
Exactly, which came out a few years later.
And an interesting thing, Marvel Comics almost got sued for Howard the Duck because it almost looks like Donald Duck. Disney was going to sue them, but ironically, Disney owns Marvel Comics now. And when Disney acquired Marvel Comics, they inherited 5,000 new characters. So
pretty sizable, huh?
Moving on to, still staying with Wolverine, this is Spider-Man versus Wolverine. This is from 1987, and it's a #1, so I had to have it.
By the way, I happened to see the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie the other day. Pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
I'm going to go see it. I haven't seen it yet. This came out, I believe, in the late 80s. I have the first 12 issues of this, and I bought 2 copies of this, Spider-Man.
So what is that like? Was that like a new series?
I believe so at the time. This came out, I think, in 1989 or maybe 1990. I'm not sure. It was late 80s, early 90s.
It's so many different Spider-Man series over
there.
It's like Batman too. In DC.
I could bring some more in there. There's a couple where he clashes with Wolverine in there too. Then they tried some other things like 2099. And so Spider-Man 2099, they did Doctor Doom 2099. I think I showed one of those off in one of our last episodes. I only bought the first 3 issues of this, again, because I'm a Spider-Man fan. I've never read this book. I love the foil cover. So sometimes I'll buy books and I don't want to ruin the spine. So I'll buy 2 copies. But this book has never been opened. Sticking with Spider-Man, Deadly Foes of Spider-Man, #1. This was a 4-part series and I have all 4 parts. Moving right along with Spider-Man. How can you not have Venom? I have the first 6 issues of this. It was supposed to be a 6-part series, but eventually Venom went as far as 150 issues, I believe.
Wow.
All right, Pete, take it over.
All right, so here we have the very first issue of Red Wolf.
No, I never even heard of this guy.
Yeah, he actually first appeared in the Avengers, believe it or not.
Wow.
He was in a couple of like Wild West Avengers issues. And then I got a couple horror-themed ones. I actually got a bunch of horror-themed ones here. This is the very, very first Monster of Frankenstein.
Great character.
And of course, cover artwork by one of my favorites, Mr. Mike Ploog.
Yes.
Then we're going to go down to the swamps of Florida, right? So here we have the first issue of Man-Thing, who
great
cover, written by Steve Gerber, and of course Man-Thing debuted originally in in the Khazar, a couple of Khazar issues in Amazing
Adventures into Fear. And then the popularity of that book, Adventures into Fear, then he launched his own book and went solo with the Man-Thing.
So the first Man-Thing run ran about 20-something issues, I believe, or I don't remember exactly. Early 30s.
I'm not sure. I don't have them all. I have a lot, but I think my last issue that I have in my collection is number 22.
22. Yeah, I think they went to the upper 20s or low 30s, and then they rebooted the series again in '79. Here's issue number 1 of the second series. Second series was okay, but not nearly as good as
the first series.
Yeah,
usually when I see the second series, I always pass.
Yeah,
you know?
But I was such a big fan of the character.
But sticking on the category of number ones, I recently picked this up last year at a Comic-Con, and I love the Hulk. He's my favorite of all Marvel characters. So when I saw this, I had to jump on that. Also, the Hulk also fought Warlock, and Warlock had his own issues, so I had to get my hands on number 1. I think he only went as far as 18 issues. Issue number 10, if you're out there, if you can get your hands on it, if you like Thanos, get it, because Thanos helps Warlock fight in issue 10 of Warlock. Great. Issue number 1 of the Human Torch. This is, I believe, from the 80s. There was a Human Torch series also in the 70s, and I have it somewhere. I know it's in here somewhere.
You're out there somewhere.
If I can find it. Oh, you know what? I'll move on. Aquaman from DC Comics. Our first DC Comics here for first issues on our episode. And also another number 1 that's going to be worth something soon. Black Lightning. I heard they're making a movie about this.
They're making a show on the CW network.
So this would be something to hang on to if you have it. I have issue 1 and 5 only.
Good character. Very Luke Cage-ish, you know. That was kind of DC's answer to Luke Cage.
See what Pete's got now.
So fresh from his spotlight in Marvel Spotlight, they decided to give Damian Hellstrom his own magazine called The Son of Satan.
Great
Good stuff.
there.
More supernatural, kind of doing a lot of supernatural stuff here. Then we have the first issue of Supernatural Thrillers featuring It. Look at this classic cover right there.
That's
beautiful.
You know,
if you love horror and monster comics, man, you just can't go wrong with some of this stuff. And then I get another one of my favorite characters of all time, just because I'm a huge werewolf fanatic anyway. I love old werewolf movies and films. This is number 1 of Werewolf by Night, who also originated in Marvel Spotlight. So a lot of the characters, the horror characters that originated in Marvel Spotlight, eventually went on to their own books: Werewolf by Night, Ghost Rider, Son of Satan, so on and so forth. Mike Ploog cover artwork as well.
Mike Ploog. Sticking with a horror theme, I guess. I thought this was kind of scary looking. The Demon. Jack Kirby did the Demon back with DC Comics in the mid-70s, like 73, 74. So when I saw this, and I thought of Jack Kirby, and it was number 1, so I bought it. Number 1 from DC, going back in time, Cobra. I don't know who you are, but
I've never heard of
number
Cobra.
1, I'm going to buy it. I like it. You don't see many female number 1 books. So Rima, the Jungle Girl. Okay, yeah, all right, number 1. Give me.
Wait, I've got a few of them in a couple minutes.
This is Spectre. The Spectre.
Very cool.
I love this cover. This is again from like maybe 87, 88. In fact, it came out when the movie Candyman was released. This is Dead Man. This is basically a reprint of Dead Man from earlier 70s. And then I picked up Eclipso. Sticking on DC theme.
Cool cover. No idea who the hell that is.
He's supposed to be a bad guy.
Oh, all right.
All right, what do you got there?
All right, so I've got one here that's actually, it's technically not a number 1, but it is a number 1 because just because it is. It's number 100.
1 with 2 zeros after.
It's a 1 with 2 zeros. So this is the premiere of Captain America and his solo magazine. What they did was they picked up where he left off in, was it Tales of Suspense?
Tales of Suspense.
Yeah, which ended at 99, and then they just gave him one. They did that on a few books. Doctor Strange did that as well.
Now, Pete and I had a talk about some of these before we shot this episode because we have the same issues. So go ahead, Pete.
So this one, he and I both love this character. In fact, when we first met in college, we both talked about how much we loved the Nova character. So
and sad that he only went 25 issues.
Yeah,
great character.
Great
I don't know
character.
why he didn't catch on.
You know what? I think if they would have come out with this character probably 10 years earlier, because I think he had a lot in common with Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because he was a younger character.
Kind of paralleled his life like Peter Parker. He was a teenager. I think his origin kind of pretty much is very similar to the Green Lantern, because it was an alien from outer space who was dying. He scanned the human race. Who's the best guy candidate to take over my power? Zoom, he zaps that kid.
Yeah. But good character though. But Nova still shows he showed up.
He's even in the new universe now. He's there.
So here's Marvel 2-in-1. This was basically a vehicle for Thing to team up and fight various other characters. This is number 1. So of course, fighting my guy Man-Thing, who I love. So
because Spider-Man has Marvel Team Up, and that's the Thing's version of Marvel Team Up,
and
basically.
They ran for many, many issues.
Oh, yeah.
And before I turn it back over to Bill, here's one you saw from me a couple weeks ago. This is I just picked this up recently. This is Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, #1, the Origin issue. Another good one.
This is probably 1987, I'm going to guess. Deathlock, which was a character who appeared in Astonishing Tales.
Yep.
And speaking of Astonishing Tales, here's #1 of Astonishing Tales. And this is obviously 2-part stories, Kazar and Doctor Doom.
How many issues did they do the Kazar and Doctor Doom?
I think Kazar and Doctor Doom went up to maybe issue 20. Or
they 19. Went that long?
He went about 20, up that far. And also #1 issue, The Toxic Avenger, kind of a horror comic book. This movie was shot in Peekskill, New York, my hometown. So when I saw Toxic Avenger, I had to buy it. And I had the first 2 issues. I don't know how far it went.
I had no idea Marvel did Toxic Avenger.
Speaking of horror, I just picked this up a few weeks ago. It's the #1 issue, the Tower of Shadows. Okay, I'll take it. It's king size. There's like 6 different stories in here.
Was that like a blob guy in the front?
I don't know. He looks like a mess coming down the stairs.
A smelly, stinky mess.
That guy doesn't look too happy, does he? He looks pretty terrified. He looks more frightened than the woman.
And look at this. You can tell what this probably. Look at the hippie guys. You know, the hippie guy with his guitar. It's like it's so.
This
funny.
Is a 25 center, so this is probably from. I have it on the back. It's 1971.
Yeah, because that's a king size, so they were charging more for the king size.
Yeah, so this is 1971 because the books would have been about 15 cents in 71.
It's just amazing when you read some of the stuff from like the late 60s, early 70s, how the dialogue, like you read some of those old Spider-Mans, you know, where they're like all the kids are hanging out, like MJ and Gwen and Peter and all the, and the dialogue so hippie-ish, you know, from the time. You know?
That's one thing about comic books. They reflect modern times.
Absolutely.
They will not use specific names. Like if President Nixon in the 70s, they would draw him, but they wouldn't mention his name. They make him look just like him. What I'm holding up here came out in 1982. Contest of Champions. It was a 3-part series, and this is the first Marvel miniseries in the history of Marvel Comics.
That's pretty cool.
Miniseries started to explode with popularity in the later 80s. And
DC especially did a ton of that stuff. A ton of that stuff.
Now it's back to Pete.
All right, so I'm going to breeze through my last three here. So here, by now, you know I love Jim Steranko's artwork. So, of course, Jim Steranko did a lot of stuff with Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is the first issue of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s own run, okay, because they did a long run with side-by-side with Doctor Strange and Strange Tales. So then they
gave him his own title here.
And Steranko did a majority of the issues.
Now, how many issues did this Nick Fury go? Do you remember?
13?
13
oh, no, I'm sorry, 18.
18. Because I have 17 and 18, I think. Those are the only issues I have of Nick.
So after that, that ran its course after 18. And then a few years later, I'm going to guess by mid 70s, they did another series.
This is probably 73 or 72 because it's a 20 center. I'm going to put my money down on.
And again, if you look real carefully there, of course that says Steranko. So you know. And then
nice
my last one today is, you know, for me was kind of like a holy grail. I actually own every issue of the original Submariner run, and this is number
70
1.
issues, by the way.
Yeah,
that's a big run.
Got all of them. They're great.
Great artwork. All his covers are amazing.
The whole series.
Next time, I want to make it a point. I'm going to ask Pete sometime to show you issue 13, which I think is probably the best cover I've seen from the whole run of Submariner. It's a sunken pirate ship underwater. The detail in it is amazing.
Yeah.
So now that wraps up our show. We're going to get it to the very end. We're going to do favorite covers. It's time for favorite covers. So I'm going to do one favorite cover of from my Spider-Man collection. This is issue 220. I try and get the glare out of there for you.
There you go.
It has Spider-Man and Moon Knight. But Spider-Man's in the casket, and it's a great cover. But obviously, we know he lives to see another day and fight another day, thank God. But beautiful cover. I love the artwork on that one.
It's good seeing those.
What do you got there to show him, Pete?
I went with my man Mike Plug today.
Good art.
And I decided I really love his work on the Frankenstein title. And I think this issue number 2, just, you know, I love the old horror movies, the old Universal horror movies. So here we've got Frankenstein.
My favorite monster from
Hollywood. Monster. Yeah, look at that. I mean, just look at that art.
Another thing I love about the Frankenstein character from the original story is that it's written by a girl, Mary Shelley. Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley.
Yep.
Written in 1816. And Hollywood didn't really do anything in 2016 to celebrate the bicentennial anniversary, I believe, which is kind of lame. Hollywood,
Yeah,
I think so. Should have did something. I don't ever think they should remake the original Frankenstein. It's perfect. Leave it alone.
They're going to make a Bride of Frankenstein reboot. It's in the works. They're doing this whole dark universe. They just did the Mummy movie. They're going to do. They got the Invisible Man playing.
Well, they better do a good job because I'm going to be very critical about it. I don't think that movie needs to be. I'm just very glad they didn't colorize the original Frankenstein.
Yeah, blasphemy.
That, because they started doing that with like old Bogart movies and stuff. I'm just so glad that, sometimes things are perfect. They're not broken. You don't need to fix it.
You know why they do it, though? They're doing it because they want like all the younger generation to witness these classic stories.
And they're afraid they won't appreciate black and white because of technology.
Watch the old movies for crying out loud. It's like,
technology is further advanced than the movies from the 30s, so kids from this generation just can't relate because they're so far above with technology. And I think that's the fear, so they want to raise the level.
It's got to be action-packed with all the special effects.
Keep you interested, They don't want, in today's world of fast food and disposable razors and 60-second news flashes, everyone's hurry up. They want to...
Give me Boris Karloff.
No one's got patience anymore. You got to have some patience.
Give me Karloff and Lugosi and Cheney any day over any of this other stuff. So
you got to have patience to read your comic books, right?
That's right.
All right, guys. That
wraps up part 2. We'll be back at you shortly with
this is part 1.
Part 1. Yeah,
we're going to come back with part 2.
Back with part 2. It's early, folks. So anyway, thanks for joining. I am Pete.
I'm Wild Bill, and we'll see you again next time.
We're Comic Book Geezer. See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.